Say it again?
I'm just saying that throughout our whole lives we experience co-creation, we experience the Tao, we experience in our every moment. In every moment, with every breath, we experience it, but we go blindly through life not being aware of it.
See?
Why? Because that's the program. That's
See?
the program. So imagine a world where this was what was taught in schools. The truth, love, breathing, the most elementary and the most vital...
How to grow a carrot.
How to grow a carrot. But the most important gifts that we have as human beings and that, that sets us apart from the other living things in the world. So imagine a world where this is what was taught in schools. I think this is the alternative.
Imagine a community of people that are living this lifestyle, so that any children who come into the energy field of this lifestyle get an opportunity not to study it, but to directly experience it as a lifestyle. See, this is where I come in, and I'm most of my frustration comes because I've had the vision. I was given the vision in '74 of how to create an alternative, and since '74, and this is 2013, this is 40 years later or whatever. It hasn't happened. I haven't been able to create that alternative yet. I haven't been able to articulate and communicate this vision sufficiently enough that it's inspired movement and transformation in others to actually co-create a living example of an alternative to the problem. And that's my frustration. Because I can see it's already there. I already understand it'll work. I already see how to do it. I was given that in '74. And there's no question that an Earth Heart juice farm is a practical alternative to world empire. It's obvious. But until enough people realize the necessity of co-creating this other experience, it isn't going to happen. It's got to have a critical mass of human beings. And it's one thing to finally get people to the point that they start to say, oh, there's a problem, which is where most people are now. There's a problem. But I'm trying to find the people who say, yeah, let's create the solution right now.
Mm-hmm.
How do we create a solution to it? Well, let's create juice farms, energy farms, small communities of people generating energy abundance and healing nourishment. Since those are the main shortages on the planet, energy, water, and food, let's work with those three main problems. Energy, water, and food.
This is why I completely understand you, and I think this last 6 months have been very transformational for me, and I can understand your frustration. And yesterday I was up on the hill and just started crying because there's so much responsibility and so much clarity and so much of everything that I can imagine that you've been feeling for the past
40
since
years.
You were born, or 40 years. So I can only begin to imagine this, but I think in my experience there must be a bridge. There must be a bridge in the sense that, if you're not an awakened human being, if you're not a conscious human being, it's very difficult. It's a process. It just doesn't suddenly wake up and you say, wow, this is... Or it can, but it's not. You're so programmed with these things, and you're so, and it's all you know all your whole life. And there's so many fears, and there's the ego, and there's so much work to do, inner work, and that.
And
there must
so
be a
much
bridge.
energy.
So for me, in my experience, it's this coming together is inclusive. This is the whole part of integration. So I think that, if you are a human being, that you have this, that something is not right. You feel it, but it's not conscious. But you haven't really done shadow work. But you it's there, and I think this is all it takes. And then everything will just flow naturally out of it. Because if you're aware, if you're making these conscious decisions, you can't turn back. You can't, see the world from that blind perspective anymore. And it's just, it's a constant work. So it's, it's not, you realize this, then another moment brings another experience, and you have to work on that as well. So it's ever changing, and it's alive. But, So from in my experience, and why I don't think I've ever felt any sense of self-liberation before or freedom, is because I've never identified with any of these paradigms, that, so to create a free community, you must do this, you must do that, you must follow this guy, for me that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. For me, the truth is here. We have all the tools that we need, but it's important to be able to share it and to co-create it and to put a name and to put a color to it and to work with that energy field and to create this harmony. But it's not about, yes, I'm going to do that and this is the right way to do it and this is the only way to do it. And then to do that, you have to meditate 2 hours, you have to do 1 hour of yoga and you have to do that. I don't feel that. Because for me, it's the truth is something greater. It's much more than, this set pattern that, I have to go on a retreat or this, or there's the answer to that. So you have to follow this guy. I think all this information, and however you use or you choose to use this information, then you can co-create it and it'll become your experience. And then it's true. And then it becomes matter. It becomes your own reality.
Yes. Once you've experienced it, it's yours. Mm. It's not abstract and knowledge anymore. It's not just symbols and talk. You've experienced it. Now for you, it's real. Mm. And if you like it, you can keep experiencing it. You can keep choosing to experience it. And then if you really like it, you can integrate it as a lifestyle or into your lifestyle. Again, it's choice all the way and responsibility for the consequences of the choice. There's often the big rub for a lot of people. Because it means quite often going against the main flow of the social order that you find yourself in. In fact, usually it means that. Because there's almost always resistance to your newness, this new creativity. Particularly those who see you the old way. They don't want you to change because that means maybe they'll have to change and that they're not ready for that yet. That's why Buddha said, wait for the question. Don't go out and save the world. Don't proselytize. Don't win people over to your side. Simply be the example. And then when those who are ready see that you're the example, they'll want to know what that is, how you did that. And they'll come to you and they'll ask you a question. And when you hear that question, that means they're motivated. So you give them the information that satisfies that question only. You don't preach to them. You don't proselytize. You don't try to win them over to your side. You give them the information for that question, and then you send them on their way again. And they'll work with that. And if they want to continue with this process, they'll come back, they'll ask new questions. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, our work is to continue being the example of the alternative, both individually and collectively in community, so that we don't have to talk our walk. Our walk talks itself. Our lifestyle expresses what we're doing. It's like a do some walk into the place and suddenly you're experiencing a different experience that's available for you too if you take it back home. So yes, but it's frustrating to find the folks who have a similar vision to at least to the point they can co-create projects together and start to create a community through this working together. Because eventually there's got to be action. We can only theorize and talk and clarify for so long until it becomes a career, a habit, and then nothing happens. And that's usually the case with intellectuals. So now action must come. Once the psychic blueprint has been agreed on, we all have a common vision. Okay, now, how do we actually bring that vision into manifestation and transform harm into harmony? And then live that as a lifestyle together.
And this is true learning, and this is using your mind wisely. This is using your mind in an active solution way, and not to create and to have this anxiety about the future, or to have this the old programs of the past and all of that. This is this is the way to use your mind, which is there. As humans, we have our mind, and it's always going to be there.
Yes.
So I think this action you're speaking about is how we should really be using our mind to do this, to make this happen, and to have this action.
We're programmed to use the mind to get power. Knowledge is power. to accumulate knowledge, and therefore to get certificates on the wall that say, I have this much knowledge, I have a BS, an MS, a PhD, and therefore I have more knowledge than you do. You got to come to me to get knowledge, to get power. It's all false. Knowledge is just symbolic abstraction of experience. So forget the knowledge. It's not important. In fact, it's in the way. Knowledge can help clarify, and to that degree it's a good tool. The mind must learn to serve the creative process. Mind, ego, personality is the last aspect of human consciousness to develop. And because it's the most adolescent and the most infantile of consciousness, it's grabbing for all the power. What it must do, mind, ego, personality, must learn to do is serve higher self. The creative process of genius, of higher self. Then a realignment, an atonement, an attunement takes place. A new integrity takes place. And the ego goes where it's supposed to go, into service to higher self. And then once this is experienced on the inside, then you start looking for relationships out here with other people who have had a similar experience. And again, like attracts like. Those experiences draw those people together, and they start creating communities out of that common experience and common vision, because they like it. It's a good feeling to be able to live this way and not lie, not do things that you know don't benefit you or anybody else in the name of benefiting them. To cease and desist all the things that you feel and know in your heart and soul are not good for anybody, and now to take that energy and invest it into what's good for everyone. How do we do that together? How do we really live harmony together and not just sit around and talk about the ideal of harmony? So that every day when we're in the garden, no matter what we're doing, whether anyone's saying anything or not, a harmonic resonance is generating out of that common work together. Because we are clear about harmony, and we're clear that we're there together, harmonically working together. And so a whole different energy field starts to generate because of our shift in attitude. But until we have the shift in attitude through the experience, that's not going to happen. It'll only be dreamed about and idealized and talked about.
And this is the only way you can experience real peace and real satisfaction. Because we just think, and we're programmed to know that, you know, we need more and more, and we need to have more degrees, and we have to have the bigger house, and we have to have this, and we have to have that, and we have to find somebody who will, you know, kind of fulfill all your fears, and then, you know, which is all a projection of your own fears, and this and that, and you never have this, you never have peace. You never have peace. You don't experience satisfaction ever.
You don't experience your true self.
You don't experience your true self.
All you experience is your program and the reinforcement of your program to serve something else that is not even real and alive. An empire, an ideal that people actually will die for. It's really insanity.
It's really sad.
It's sad, and it's truly insanity. For the rest of this lifetime for me, I want to create an alternative to these things. I want to co-create a lifestyle and an environment where anyone coming in and out of that environment experiences something other than war, conflict, competition, slavery, artificial economic systems, the lie of freedom, where they can actually experience the truth of freedom and the fact that human beings can literally create a community environment of free individual human beings. I'm convinced we can do this together.
I think you are doing it right now.
Not to my, it doesn't scratch my itch. Because I was given a very specific, clear vision of how this can work, and it's not even close. Mm-hmm. Not even close. So until I'm in a community of people where we're generating our own energy abundance and providing our own healing nourishment and then sharing that with other people without money, I'll only be happy. See, I know what not to do and where not to invest my energy, but I don't seem to be able to get that momentum movement to create the alternative to it. And until I do that, I'm incomplete, and I haven't completed my mission. and I may leave this lifetime not completing my mission, and that means I'm going to be a little bit dissatisfied at the end.
I can speak from my own experience, and just being here 5 days with you and with him and in this garden and just sharing this information, and it's just not even having been here, but through the information from the blue sky and from the things that I've just been curious about and I'm more aware about and kind of paying attention to my life. It's from. I think I'm the living example of how this vision can be fulfilled or can happen, because I'm experiencing it right now. So
well, good. That's good.
This may be not your complete vision, but in my experience, this is exactly what you're doing. This is the harmony work that you're doing, and this information has been more valuable to me than anything else that I've ever done in my life.
Well,
so
that's wonderful, and thank you for that.
So I believe, is what I said before. I believe that there's so many individuals out there that they're feeling the same shift as I have felt and that I've been feeling and that I will feel for the rest of my life. That that's exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for this alternative and to have this experience on their own. But it's just, there's so many programs that you don't know where to go. You don't know if you go home to your parents. You don't know if this is what you have to do. You don't know if it's the shadow work. You don't know if you need to get a job and you have to follow the system. So it's and the answer is so much more simple than that.
Yeah, because that's still all mental. That's still the mind basically projecting its fear.
Yeah, but it gets confused.
Well, it has to. I mean,
it gets confused. And so
Linus will always go to the blanket. When everything else fails and Linus really starts to get inwardly anxious, Linus will always go back to the blanket. That's the nature of addictive personalities, and returning to whatever that substance or drug is that keeps us in addiction and at the same time is killing us. So we must keep going. It's like Mr. Natural said. They asked, "What's it all mean, Mr. Natural?" And he said, "It don't mean shit. Just keep on trucking." It's almost all illusion anyway, so just keep on moving. Keep on moving through it, because it's all going to change. The only thing that isn't going to change is your essence and your center. That's the only thing that isn't going to change. That's going to be with you from conception till your last breath, because that's you. That's who you are as an individual in this lifetime. So that's where you begin, in truth. Once the programs are all gone, you're left with your next breath and the one in your body now in full consciousness. Now what? What do I do with this breath that I got in my body? It's the greatest gift I've been given. It's life itself. What am I going to do with it? And is it just for me that I'm going to do it? Or can I go beyond myself and do it so well that I got so much of it, I got to give it away. Got to share it. And then I find out the law of abundance is share the abundance. And the more abundance we share, the more abundance there is. Before you know it, we're living heaven on earth. At least within the limits of that particular community, where we're all choosing to do it together. It's just a matter of choice and staying with it. And then it'll manifest. Because that's the way the universe works. Once you agree on something, and you stay with that, and just keep putting your energy there and persevering in that direction, eventually it's going to manifest into matter. That's just the way it works. From gardens to mountains. I mean, that's the way the creative principle does its thing and manifests matter. It sees a new image it wants to create, it stays with that image, it keeps pouring energy into that image, and before you know it, it's manifested into a material form. So we can do that. We can create freedom. We can live in freedom. But we can't save the world. And that's the big mistake we've almost always made. First of all, the world doesn't want to be saved. It wants to be exactly what it is, so it's pointless to even try to save it. It's like trying to help a little old lady across the street when she doesn't want to go. Don't save the world. Transform yourself. Save yourself. Be a living example of how to do it, how to be it. And then those who are ready will be drawn to you and say, how do you do that? How did you become a butterfly? You were a dinosaur, how did you become an eagle? And when you hear that sincere question, you tell them how you did it. You tell them exactly how you did it. You give them that information right out of your experience, because that's the most valid, authentic information you got, is your experience. And when they hear that, they've got real information now. It's up to them. They can take those seeds and return and plant them and grow a new transformational experience for themselves, or they can just piss them away. Or they can come back and ask you more questions. The point is, if you have integrity, you're home. You're centered in the essence and nature and purpose and work of you, the individual. Your genius is co-creating your life. It's something of value for everyone, and your ego is serving that purpose. That's atonement. You're home. And we can live this way.
And when people come together and do that, together in a community, in everyday living, that I choose to begin to serve myself with the purpose of being able to serve others. And if all people would do that, there would be harmony among these people, and that harmony will bring us into the center, into this integration. In the very moment now, we may experience one now. And the question arises then, who am I really? May your way, and I'd like to emphasize that your is our, in the very word your. If your way is my way, are we then two, or are we one? W-O-N. So is that a human right, possibility, choice to make, to experience oneness in this body? And how will that universe look like? Is that a new consciousness, or is it just if I can express it in my words, I feel it's a possibility to experience it. So it's already in the consciousness.
If you can express it, it's already available. It's already beginning to manifest. That's the beginning, is the ability to articulate it and express it, and then communicate that, meaning the signal goes out, it's received, it's understood, and the signal comes back. So there's a full unit, a full circuit of information take place. That's communication. Without the information back that you received, there's not real communication. It's just broadcast. But once we communicate, now we know we're really doing something real. Are we creating a community together? We're just sitting around talking about it, mentally masturbating together. Or are we actually co-creating something real that has value, that has transformational experience for other people, if they so choose to come into it? Well, that's my vote, is to create the alternative and to have a community of people where anyone can come into it and experience these experiences. And now they've got choice, real choice. And they can take that back, or they can stay. They can stay in that community, that juice farmer they want, if there's room, if it's workable. But this is education. This isn't teaching anybody anything, because as far as I'm concerned, nobody can teach anybody anything, but we've all got to learn. We all must learn to grow.
And there are many different ways of learning. There's ways that you make it, people say, oh, it's by making a mistake. Why you have to make a mistake if you have the information available to you, and you can just, use that information wisely and you not have to make the mistake.
Pete Seeger said, Pete Seeger's a folk singer, he said, learn from other people's mistakes. You don't have enough energy to make them all yourself. So, good. Let's learn together without anyone trying to teach anybody anything. Let's just learn by agreeing on trying to co-create certain things and experimenting to see if it's going to work. And if it works, great, we've learned it works. Or if it doesn't work, great, we learned it doesn't work. But we learned because we chose to get involved with it, not just read books about it. We chose to experience it So through the experience, now we have understanding of it. We don't need to know anything about it. We understand it. If I want to learn to be a good blacksmith and shoe horses and everything, I can go and start reading books about it, or I can go find a good, successful blacksmith and say, I'd like to apprentice under you, I'll work for free. And then have everyday experiences of how to actually be a blacksmith and eventually put shoes on horses.
And this is what every guru in every religion and every country and every has ever said, that, you know, there's no answer. I'm not here to give you the answer. I'm here to help you find your way of the answer. And this is co-creation. This is sharing information. This is exactly what you were doing.
If they're truly the real deal, there are a lot of gurus who say that, but don't practice it because they like that following. They like those disciples. They like those students underneath them. Keep them up there on the pedestal. No, the real teachers, the real educators are the ones who are right down there with you, doing it right there with you, living the lifestyle. Not up above, elevated above you, telling you how to do it.
Talking about separation, that there doesn't need to be separation, sitting on a pedestal in the hierarchy of their ego.
Exactly. And needing all those guys to stay down
to
there.
Stay there for him to stay up there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
This is why I've never... You know, so what is this talk about integration? This talk about that there's no separation when you're the first thing that you do, or the first action is the separation, that, you know, people kiss your feet, and this is separation itself.
Yep. Yep. So that paradigm, that's the old paradigm. That's the patriarchal paradigm. That's a male, usually representing a white male,
With a big beard? No.
sitting on top of a pyramid, a hierarchy, with all the student slaves, disciple children underneath him, totally dependent upon daddy to give them the information to live their lives. No. Buddha said, you are your only master, who else? Christ said, the kingdom of heaven does not come in such a way as to be seen, for the kingdom of heaven is within you. So even Christ himself said, I'm not coming back to save your ass. You want the kingdom of heaven, work for it, find it. It's inside of you, somewhere near your center. Struggle, breathe. Go through all the shit of life. Don't deny any of it. Half the truth is negative, half of love is tough. Accept it.
The true guru is the one that makes you sit with yourself.
Yes. So again, we can sit around for days and talk about this, and it's wonderful. It's a good way to share experience. It's better watching TV. It's better being down in bars, hanging out, drinking beer, and talking the same stories over and over. But after a while, we get trapped into talking about it. So again, without the action, there's no completion. Without the action, there's no real transformation. Because it's the movement of the energy through the form that transforms the form into this higher state that makes it real and complete. Because matter is one of the elements that we have to deal with and work with. It might be an illusion, but damn it, as long as we're in this three-dimensional universe, it's an illusion we have to deal with, because that hurt. My hand didn't pass through that rock. It hurt when I hit it. So I got to deal with this in some real way. I understand it's just atoms moving around. It's mostly space. I understand the theory of that. But until I completely experience it and am able to vibe with it and put my hand into it, I got to deal with the illusion of that stone there in front of me. So it's part of it.
So can we talk about that? Can we talk about the actual steps? What will it take to conclude this vision? What will it take for this juice farm to be created? Actual steps.
The first step is your next breath and the one in your body now. That's the first step. And you stay with that process and you follow your breath until you break through into your center. And you keep following your breath to your center until you experience being centered. And once there's no question whatsoever that you're centered, now you have real choice. Do I remain centered, or do I go back to mind, ego, personality, and the program? Once you make your choice, let's say you choose to stay centered, the temptation to go back to the old patterns are always going to be there. Particularly as you move into your new choice and the unknown and more anxiety and more shadow work comes up and all that, then you're going to want to go back to the old way because it's the known, it's the Linus blanket, it's your addiction to the patterns and the habits and the program. But if you're sincere about your growth and your spiritual development, you'll break on through, and no matter what happens outside of you, no matter how severe it is, no matter how painful and overwhelming it is, I'm talking to myself now, when all else fails, you follow your breath to your center. And that's what you do. That's where you begin, and this is where we end, if there is an end. With our next breath and the one in our body now. That's where we begin. Once we have become journeymen with the breath and in centering, and there's no question that we can do this anytime, then the next step is creative imagination. You pretty well know what not to do. Now, what is your vision of what to do instead? What is your higher self giving you? Because you're being called now by your higher self, or you wouldn't be doing this to begin with. And your higher self has a vision for you. It's your work. It's your magnum opus, your major work of your life. So what is it? Get clear about it. Get so clear about it that if anyone asks you about it, or if someone's receptive to sharing vision, you can very clearly articulate your vision very simply in a few words. So the essence of your vision and your life's work is 4 minutes of information or so. Then you share with others your visions. You have a vision sharing. And where your visions overlap, and where your visions dovetail, here's work, here's creative work, here's projects, here's enterprises, here's ways to really co-create together that benefit everybody, because everyone's motivated in that area right there. And eventually you create a community of like-minded, like-visioned people who want to co-create an alternative to this. And each juice farm, each location, each community is different. It's not like a McDonald's or a franchise. The environment predicts it. The different individuals involved with that particular juice farm in that moment determine what you choose to do and what you're going to create. Do you have water on the property that you're going to create? I mean, are you facing south so you got lots of sun? Do you have wind currents coming across? So each thing's going to be different. What's important is that the principles behind it are the same principles. Harmony, integrity, liberation, peace through renaissance, and more. These are the principles that you center in and that you generate out of yourself. And then you figure out all these different ways to manifest them. That's the creative process. And your environment, the relationships in the social environment, the community itself, these all determine and make it different, so that each juice farm is completely different from every other juice farm, with the same principle behind it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that when you walk into any juice farm, you feel harmony. You feel it, you experience it, but it's a completely different creative
because
place.
there's not right or wrong way of doing it. So it's all about the experience. It's all about the experimenting it in the moment. And,
in the moment.
And whatever comes as part of your every breath.
That's right, because every moment is different, has its own needs, its own dictates. You've got to learn to dance with every moment. Mm-hmm. So every juice farm is a different juice farm. It's pretty simple, actually. The difficult part of it is actually getting the people together and taking the first step together. So that we're working with energy abundance, we create energy systems. We work with the sun. We build solar panels. We build wind star generators, or any kind of generator that generates either with water or wind energy. We learn different ways of growing medicines to prevent illness. Take care of problems before they happen. Prevent problems. It takes less energy to prevent a problem than to solve it and to heal it. Again, this is all real. This is all going to be done, but this is words. These are words. And they're great sounding words, and I can get people inspired and motivated. But until we actually move through a working alternative to it, it's just words. It's just blue sky. But once we're starting to create living environments and lifestyles where these principles are being expressed in all these different ways that are creative, once we're starting to create our own musical instruments, for example, and our own pottery, and our own furniture, or whatever it is that each juice farm decides they want and need in that moment, then it's real. Now it's complete. Now we're working with some integrity. And once you've got a whole community set up that after 4 years can operate and maintain itself without any money whatsoever, now you're home. Now you're living an incredible creative lifestyle of overflowing abundance that you can share with anyone who's interested without money, charge, cost, or payment. So you're living an abundant life. It's a sustainable life. You're not destroying your environment. To the contrary, you're benefiting it. You're working with it in such a way that everyone prospers and thrives. It's available. You begin with your next breath and the one in your body now. And when that is complete and you feel confident and comfortable with what that all means for you in all aspects, holistically, then you integrate your creative imagination with that. And you work with these two incredible creative currents of energy. And you almost can't fail. Once you've got a vision and you set it into motion, when you're working with these two, spiritual breath and creative imagination, you almost can't fail. And then once you put those two into the Kundalini and bring that energy up into it and integrate it all in the heart center, you can't fail. Then you get a group of people doing the same thing together, they create miracles, or what seem to be miracles to everybody else. They aren't miracles, it's just the way it works. But it will seem like miracles to other people. Until they ask, how do you do that? Then the magic is, and the mystery is taken out of it, the work begins, and they learn how to do it too. And then they can take it back home and do it back home in their own way back home. And then slowly, naturally, organically, spontaneously, this begins to grow in grassroots around the planet. I was told that I'm to stay with this process until 22 juice farms are complete. And when 55 juice farms are complete, then the whole process is complete. And it's not to grow beyond that. And there's your network of the vanguard of the coming Aquarian consciousness, to be examples around the planet in sacred power spots of a way to create an Aquarian lifestyle together. Which means individual genius fully realized, fully expressed in a community of geniuses whose ultimate purpose is to be free. That's basically the Aquarian essence right there.
Which can be exemplified in how Indians have lived all their life.
Now,
Without the coming of this new paradigm, of this old paradigm, as we
they were
say
basically
it.
a matriarchy. They were basically a matriarchy. We've had a matriarchy, we've had a patriarchy. Those are both the old paradigms. What's coming is some kind of new thing that's not matriarchal, it's not patriarchal, it's an integration of both yang and yin into individual human beings that are self-liberating. So there's not a need for a community, there's a natural co-creation of a community. They don't just hang together for survival, like Indians, and be nomads and do that. They've come into this new consciousness where that's not necessary anymore. And Mama doesn't control the power either. You see, the matriarchy gave us bloodletting, blood sacrifice, and orgiastic cannibalism. So the women have their extremes too. No, this is brand new. We haven't had any experience with this yet. This is something. About 40,000 years of matriarchy before the patriarchy. And it self-disintegrated into orgiastic cannibalism. And because it is so new, and because we don't really have any conceptual tools to work with, everybody's just like, whoa, what's this about? What's this baby going to look like? What's this butterfly going to be like? Because we don't have any past experience to project. So we just have to do it one day at a time, one breath at a time, because we're co-creating it together right now. Is this still going? I'm getting hungry. Anything further?
No, just thank you.
You're welcome. Aloha.